So we're going to Elizabeth April. She had a GFL summit, which she does once a month, and once every quarter. And I tapped in for a previous one back in March. She has this really interesting one. Not that they're not always interesting anyway, but rather than go with predetermined questions, she goes to the GFL completely open and said, "What does humanity most need to know now?" And it's really interesting information that comes through. And we're going to cover that off more towards into next week because it really is good. We need to break it down. We need to work out what it means for us as humanity, and it's fascinating stuff. But one of the things she did towards the end of the show, she said, she just suddenly felt inspired to actually remote view with Jesus, with Yeshua. And she's done that before. And, interestingly, he came through in the same kind of way this time as well. So he's not GFL, but Yeshua is his own energy source and consciousness. And it's this amazing, enormous, when she sees him, he's an enormous being. He's an enormous being. But what happens is that there's this, he's not in human form, but it's ethereal. And then there's all these wisps come off from this garment that is it's like gold kind of life force energy, and it will reach out and connect with you. So that's why Yeshua can answer, millions of prayers at once and connect with people. And he connected with Elizabeth. And what came out of it was really good. And all we're doing, because again, this is a pay for view kind of thing, and we paid for this, but I wouldn't put Elizabeth's work out in total like that because again, that's for anybody who wants to go to elizabethapril.com, they can actually see it in its totality for itself. But we're gonna certainly lift the information and just share. But this last little section, when she connected with Yeshua, I found really, really powerful, based off where we've been in previous weeks. Okay, so with the show, we learned about the fact the anchoring process, that the crucifixion took energy, this bolt of energy, into the core of the earth, which only now is ready to emanate back up for humanity to be shared, which is why the crystal children have come in from year 2000 onwards, because they're here to help to communicate this around the world and help us all elevate our consciousness. Now, bearing that in mind, I don't think Elizabeth watches Elevated Planet, but because I do watch Elevated Planet, because I'm part of it, this resonated with me straight away. And you'll know what I mean. Bearing that in mind, what I've just said, when I play you this short clip, this is the last part that she talked about when she'd been communicating, remote viewing live with Yeshua. And well, I'll just let it speak for itself. So bear with me a second. We're going to switch screens and go to Elizabeth.
So I asked him, is there anything else? Like, are there any last messages or whatever? And so he said he was talking about the return of Jesus, but really that Christ consciousness energy and how everyone is going to be prompted to find that in themselves. So, I don't know why it's so intense. It's making me cry or whatever. He gave me this image, and I don't even know how to describe it, but so he gave me the image of planet Earth, and he said that the Earth is about to be infused with his frequency. So I don't know how, he didn't explain how. I don't know if it's a solar flare. I don't know if it's him coming down and doing something. So he gave me this image, okay, of planet Earth and the core of the planet, and how it's it literally looked like the core of the planet was getting infused with this beautiful swirling golden Christ consciousness energy. And then from that golden energy, it was shot out, okay? And then it's it went through all of these sort of portals all around the planet. It hasn't happened yet, but this is about to happen. I don't know when. It could be 5 years from now. I'm not sure. Time obviously for him is just so irrelevant and different, but he's this is about to happen. It's going to happen in our lifetime. I literally just don't know when. It's the golden frequency infused into the core, coming outward, okay, across the entire planet. It's it's interesting because usually source frequency, God frequency, comes in through the crown chakra. It looks white. This is so different. It's coming up through the ground, through our base root chakra and up our systems. And he said, that's interesting. He didn't say there's going to be a moment of great judgment. He didn't say that. That's sort of the implication that I'm getting. It's going to be a moment of judgment. I'm just going to use those words, okay? But he said, so I said, how is that going to happen? Everyone's going to be infused with this Christ conscious energy. And he said there's going to be a moment of choice, essentially. And the choice is going to come down to, and this is fascinating. This is what it is. I don't know why it made me cry. It still make me cry. It's like the choice or the judgment, when this energy comes through, it's not how good of a person are you. It's not how much you love humanity. It's not how much unity you want for the world. It's not how much you spiritual you are, how much you read the Bible, how much you pray, how much you believe in aliens. It's fucking none of that. It comes down to how much do you love yourself? And he said that everyone right now on the planet who is diving into this darkness, who is gaslighting others, who is becoming narcissistic or completely removed from the objective truth of reality, the people who are angry and spiteful and corrupt and narcissistic and projecting, I think we can all think of at least one of those people in our life. We know this, but he's saying that it has nothing to do with anyone else. Those people are being confronted with how much they love themselves or how much they don't love themselves. And they are taking that inner hatred and fear and judgment, and they are projecting it onto anyone and anything else in order to justify the lack of unconditional love they have for themselves. I don't know why that makes me want to cry. It's like, I think it just gives me so much compassion for those people who are so mean and angry and gaslighting and projecting and narcissistic and just want to bring everyone else down around them. We know this. We know they don't love themselves, and that's why they feel the need to do that. But it's like, I don't know. For some reason, when Jesus says it, it just changes it. It just makes it so much more impactful. The time of great judgment is coming, and we're not being judged by God. We're not being judged by Jesus. We're being judged by ourselves and the love that we may or may not have. So how do you show yourself love? How are you not showing yourself love? How can you show up for yourself more? How can you talk nicer to yourself? I don't know if that grammatically makes sense. How can you be kinder on yourself? Have more compassion for yourself? If you're angry or resentful or fearful, it's just an inner reflection on the lack that you may be possessing.
So, the day of judgment is upon us, and we're not being judged by God. We're not being judged by Jesus. We are being judged by ourselves, and it comes back to how much do we love ourselves? Because we're all aspects of divine energy, and this is basically where it comes back to, right? And I understand, when you saw the show in its entirety, you understand why Elizabeth was as moved as she was, because I know that when she connects with the energy of Yeshua, and this has happened before, is she has to bubble herself, as she puts it, because otherwise she gets so emotional that she just basically breaks down, because the love, the unconditional love that comes from Yeshua is so deep. It's anything beyond you get in the 3D version of reality. And it's overwhelming in the most positive way, but to communicate at the same time is difficult. And even despite the bubble, she still, was struggling to keep her composure, but it was understandable, and again, it was from the heart. You just know that. But this idea that 2,000 years ago, Yeshua, working with the Essenes, working with the Kulu, the ancient race from Atlantis, and the energy lines and everything else that was involved in that moment, the crucifixion that created the anchoring of the energy into the core of the earth in readiness for the time that we're in now. So that's what struck me when I listened to this, is that this is the energy that we've been talking about in recent weeks, that has been infused within the core of the earth, that is now coming back to us. And it is Christ consciousness. It is unity consciousness. It is the second coming. We are all the second coming, because we all have all the aspects of the divine within us. But how do we connect? How do we find that self-love? And I find this really amazing. So the Galactic Federation thing was great, and we will cover that off more next week. But this is really all about, from root to crown, this is the energy that is going to come back to us. Whenever that's going to happen, it's uncertain, but soon was the way it was put. Coming back very soon. Now, very soon, as Elizabeth said, could be 5 years from now. It could be tomorrow, right? Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's coming from the center of the earth and upwards and through us, through the root, through to the crown, rather than we expect energies to come in from the outside. But this is quite the opposite. So that's really all I want to say on that, because I think, it speaks for itself, really. But I'm going to bring Jolie in back now for your comments. What do you think, Jolie?
Unconditional love is a practice. It's not just something you're like, oh, it's a practice that is able to harness that energy that is coming up through Mother Earth. Now I get, we don't have to do much. It is very true in that the spirit loves us and the spirit's going to give us what we need. But thinking that and beginning from a place of, I am worthy and deserving, it is safe for me to be here, really allows for that energy to expand. So if you're asking yourself, well, what does self-love or unconditional love look like for me? It begins with worthiness. So each day you're doing things that increase your feeling of, I belong here, I am worthy. 10 toes down, I stand up for myself, I plant my flag, right? And then another part of that would be giving other people the space to exist, encouraging and inspiring them to live. How? Through your own neutrality. That's another big one, right? These are like the breadcrumbs to being able to get to unconditional love. Because when we're neutral, we're doing what Miguel Ruiz teaches us, is that the four agreements, right? Don't take anything personal. You don't, that's one of them. The other three you can look up. That's the one I remember the most. Don't take anything personal. And that right there is huge in moving into a state of unconditional love. Um, Letting things roll off your back, using the totem of the duck, allowing for things to just move through you and come out the other side of that whole again. So what's another thing I can add to that? Having a routine, the physical body, right? Having a routine, and it's going to look different throughout the phases of your life. But that's how you ground your energy to be able to take in what Mother Earth is giving you, is by having a routine and rhythm throughout your day, and these things really help, and allowing for things like meditation to come in. If you think that I sit down every day and meditate like this, At nighttime, I do before bed. But throughout the day, I am constantly dropping in and saying, I love you, Mother Earth. I'm so grateful. There's so much greatness in you. There's so much greatness in John. There's so much greatness in Elevated Planet. I'm so grateful to be here. This is how much I want to make a year. Mother Earth loves me. So I'm constantly saying these things. Now, do negative thoughts come in my mind all the time? But the thing is, I'm learning how to pick up that phone to the pineal gland, right?
Yeah.
It's in
Yeah.
my head, but whatever that line is, I go back based on what I've learned from Drumvalo. I go back and I speak specifically to my pineal gland and I say, look, this is what I need. And I have a serious conversation with it. I don't just, prostrate to my pineal gland or to my creator. That's not what this is about. I integrate and I began to develop a relationship of unconditional love. My creator is not vengeance. I'm not a sinner. I am not going to the lake of fire. That doesn't exist in my world. What does exist is a constant state of loving flow.
Mm.
And so that is what we're trying to get to. And that is what Mother Earth has for us. So when we sit in that energy, it's like, it just floods and fountains out of us and into the universe. So I just want you all to know that the spirit is always there for us to speak with, but we just don't listen. We think Neil Donald Walsh and a few others are the only people that can talk to God, but the creator, the energy, the divine creator of all that is, talks to all of us. That essence is within us, and we can access it through working with our pineal gland, our hearts, and our chakras.